Selam Habertürk izleyicileri. Yine çok önemli bir konuğumuz var. Önemli bir keman sanatçısı Gwendolyn Masin. Gwendolyn Masin ve Anima Musicae Oda Orkestrası 17 Nisan Çarşamba akşamı İş Sanat'ta çok özel bir konser verecekler. Türk-Macar Dostluk Anlaşması'nın 100. yılı şerefine. Şimdi bu konser hakkında konuşacağız kendisiyle. Hi Gwendolyn, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thanks.
First of all, before the concert, I just want to know something about you. When you start playing the violin, and are you from musical family? Who inspired you to play violin or pursue a career in music?
I began to play the piano when I was 3 years old, inspired by my maternal grandmother. I come from a long line of musicians on both sides of my family, and my grandmother was from Budapest, and she taught me how initially to play the piano. And when I was 5, I received my first violin, and that's how my violin story started.
Okay, then, thank you. And the concert, you will give a very special concert on April 17 on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of the Turkish-Hungarian Friendship Treaty. Can you tell us a little about this special evening? What awaits the audience?
I will be performing as a soloist and a play direct leader. In other words, I will be directing an orchestra that I don't always perform with, but for this special occasion, I will. They're called the Anima Musicae, a Hungarian orchestra who work in Budapest and rehearse there. It's a great honor and privilege for me. I love working with chamber orchestras, and they are not only very vital and energetic, but they are also quite young. So they are a relatively new chamber orchestra on the scene, very vibrant, and this program promises to be very fast and an exciting one.
Is it your first concert in Istanbul?
It is my first concert in Istanbul. Yes, it is, and I'm very much looking forward.
How did you create the repertoire for this special concert? Which composer works will we listen to that evening?
Some of the things I can already talk to you about are the French composers.
Mhm.
One of them is called Saint-Saëns, Camille Saint-Saëns,
Mhm.
who was one of the most famous and established composers in France during his lifetime and after. And Ravel, Maurice Ravel. And I will be performing a piece by Maurice Ravel called Tzigane, which is very special in this context because the work Tzigane is dedicated to a Hungarian violinist called Jeli Darányi, who was one of the first well-known female violinists of her time. She came from Hungary, and she inspired Ravel on very many occasions when he heard her playing in concerts. He, we know, must also have been in contact with Hungarian musicians or heard folk traditional music in Hungary. And this inspired this piece called Tzigane, which is an attempt to mirror the kind of music that Ravel thought was being played in Hungary. It's very virtuosic. It's a very well-known piece for the violin repertoire. It begins with a around 3 or 4 minute solo violin cadenza, which is always very special and also always slightly exciting for the violinist because you are so exposed. Before then, the chamber orchestra will join us.
I'm so excited to, about the concert now. And one thing, I read the critics called you an exciting artist who can boldly enter the unknown regions of music. I wonder if we will go to the unknown regions of music at that concert.
Well,
17 November.
Exactly. That remains to be seen. We're going to try, well, we are going to work together, the orchestra and I, before we perform in Istanbul. And during this time, I'm going to try and fit in some special elements. I think with classical music, we have entered a realm of music that is steeped in history. It's rich with tradition, with culture. It's a very international basis of a music. It stretches a long way, both back in history and towards the future. And what is interesting to me is to try and find out how we can present the music to audiences worldwide in a way that allows them to identify with the music and identify with the musicians, and also that breaks down the barriers between audiences and artists, that makes everything a little bit closer and more involved for both.
Do you plan any surprises for Turkish audience? You know, something in Turkish, maybe?
Well, again, we will see. I'm working on some things. The Turkish music history is really, really rich. There is a phenomenal amount of Turkish artists and music that we are finally discovering in great abundance. And is particularly special because it has a lot to do with storytelling, which is one of my favorite ways of portraying music, so that we can realize that a lot of the stories within music are personal experiences of composers and personal experiences of artists, but also, of course, they reflect what is happening with our society, how we feel as people. So it will be very interesting for me to try and find some music in this way.
Gwendolyn, you are a teacher as well, you know, and an instructor. My last question about the kids, you know, what advice would you give to children or their families who are considering starting to play violin?
I think perhaps what I would advise is to keep the fun element of music making also in young years. I'm sure you know that playing a musical instrument requires a lot of dedication and a lot of commitment and a lot of repetition as we learn how to master an instrument. So the most exciting thing we can do is to keep our minds invigorated with ideas and to create small incremental goals. If we tell a child that, you know, if we tell a 5-year-old that one day she will play in Iş Sanat, I think maybe the 5-year-old doesn't believe it yet. But if we had told her that she will visit Turkey to play music, she might have believed that. And I'm sure that 5-year-old would practice. And here we are. Perhaps that is the best way.
Thank you. Would you like to say anything to Turkish audience?
I cannot wait to visit Turkey and to learn more about the Turkish culture, about Turkish music, to meet Turkish people, and to broaden my horizon.
Thank you very much, Gwendolyn. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And thank you. Thank you again. And İş Sanat 17 Nisan Çarşamba akşamı İş Sanat Kulelerinde Türk-Macar Dostluk Anlaşması'nın 100. yılı şerefine Anima Musicae Oda Orkestrası ve Gwendolyn Masin sizlerle olacak. Herkese iyi eğlenceler şimdiden. Thank you, Gwendolyn.
Thank you.